CNN special coverage continues right now with CNN's Paula Zahn. Paula?
Thanks so much, Anderson. Good evening, everyone. Glad to have you with us tonight. We continue CNN's rolling coverage of the desperate aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. The state of emergency isn't over, not by a long shot. Here is the most disturbing image I've seen today. It's of an elderly woman who died waiting for help at the New Orleans Convention Center. Her body simply covered with a blanket, her wheelchair pushed aside. In the chaos, no one able to provide her the dignity she so deserved. And just look at the anger and desperation of the people outside the convention center. We're getting reports that describe it as a nightmare of crime. Human waste, rotten food, dead bodies everywhere. Other reports say sniper fire is hampering efforts to get people out. New Orleans mayor put out an SOS, a statement today saying we are overwhelmed and out of resources. Yet some people are finally getting out. We've been watching the scene outside of the Superdome where troops in uniform have finally arrived. They're handing out water and trying to maintain order. A long line of buses has pulled into the city. They will be taking the huge crowd of evacuees to Houston. Tens of thousands of them left. So far, they wait and wait and wait. Here's another sign of progress. Helicopters are now lowering huge sandbags to start repairing one of the levee breaks that caused all of the flooding. Two other breaks to repair. The convention center is about 15 blocks from the Superdome. Thousands of people are there. Things are absolutely critical. Chris Lawrence has been there. He's on the top of a roof of a police station. He joins me now by video phone. What is the latest from there, Chris? What are you afraid of?
Paula, we are right here on top of the roof, and I can see from this point and this vantage point right here, we have a pretty good view of the city. Right now, behind me, I can see smoke rising from across the Mississippi River, where police tell us that a mall is literally burning to the ground. Right here in the city, overhead, helicopters are literally just completely surrounding the city. We've seen some news helicopters, but a lot of Red Cross, police helicopters, a lot of the big Chinooks that the military uses. It is virtually a state of siege here in New Orleans right now. Just a scene that you never thought you would see in a major American city. Down on the ground, police were telling us when they got us off the street, it's just too dangerous to stay. One officer said there have literally been groups of young men roaming the city, shooting at people, attempting to rape women. As we were getting hustled out of our location, one of the officers told a group of young ladies, do not go down that street. He ordered them to turn around and head back up another street. He said the situation is just extremely dangerous on the ground right now. And it follows what we've been seeing all day. You know, you not only have the violence, but just this incredible misery. We were at the New Orleans Convention Center today and saw mothers with their babies literally living in raw sewage and putrid food. Just an incredible, horrible scene down there. Thousands and thousands of families have been going for days now without food, without water. They have no communication with the outside world. And to make matters worse, they're scared. One police officer said at some point this afternoon, someone drove by and actually shot at some of these people who are just waiting there to be rescued. They're sitting there, families, mothers with their children, literally with no food or water, waiting to be rescued, and a police officer says someone shot at them. While we were on the ground there, we saw horrible conditions. We saw an elderly woman who had died in a wheelchair. There was no one to come get her. There's no ambulance. There's no pickup. She was just sitting on the side of the road next to the convention center with a blanket over her. Right next to her on the ground was another body wrapped in a white sheet. So people are literally dying at the convention center, and we expect if conditions don't change there very soon, that body count will continue to rise.
And of course,
Paula.
the governor of the state has already predicted that she believes the death toll will go into the thousands when they can actually assess all this. But Chris, have you seen any signs of federal help there yet? Please bear with us. I'm going to try one more time. As you probably know from watching us over the last couple of days, the communication system is severely hampered. At times, people can't use their cell phones at all, and it's very tricky just getting any kind of signal up out of New Orleans. Let me see if I can get Chris Lawrence back. Chris, are you with me? Okay. Okay, very quickly, I want to bring you up to date on what we know at this hour. The head of the National Guard in charge of the operations there tells us that as many as 3,500 soldiers will be going into Louisiana tomorrow, 2,500 into Mississippi. There are so many things that officials are worried about. First of all, the health conditions, because there is no potable water, because there is no food. They're worried about, obviously, severe dehydration. They're worried about so many of the things Chris Lawrence just talked about. Literally, people walking around in feces, dead bodies being all but ignored, not being removed at all from outside the convention center. Unfortunately, a lot of the streets are still blocked, a lot of the city's still underwater. Chris Lawrence just reporting that they could actually see a shopping mall burning down. Fire hydrants aren't working. We know that the local hospitals are having severe problems. No sanitation at all at this hour at Charity Hospital, where nurses are literally pumping bags because of failed generators, and they just don't know how they're going to make it through the night. In fact, on the phone right now, I have someone joining us from Charity Hospital. They have only had enough power for a few intensive care wards. Joining me on the phone is Dr. Ruth Berggren. Doctor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
How severe are things right now?
Well, we've just had a major setback, Paula. We waited all day for the sniper situation to get stabilized so that we could recommence evacuating our patients. About an hour or so ago, we got the signal to bring down patients who could walk. I came down with my patients all the way from the 9th floor, including people with spinal fractures and people who were in federal custody. And we actually loaded them onto boats, and we just saw a boat come back with some of our patients, and we're being told that all the patients that were just evacuated in the second wave are coming back to the hospital because the place of higher ground to which the patients were taken did not have the expected transport for patients to the next phase of the evacuation.
So, Dr. Berggren, what is going to happen to these patients? Are some of them going to die?
Some of them have died. I honestly, as I ran back up the stairs from that scene to come and take this phone call, they were bringing a dead body down from the 3rd floor. One of my patients, whom we worked very, very hard to get on the critical list and to move out as fast as we could, we've been by his bed all day, was sitting on that boat that came back and leaning over the edge and vomiting, and my heart just breaks for him because I think he just feels terrible.
What are you going to do to get through the night?
We're going to stay focused on what we need to do. We're going to continue to take care of patients. We're going to try to make them comfortable. We're going to try to keep them safe. And we'll just stay on task, and that's how we're going to get through.
Well, keeping them safe is a huge issue tonight, Dr. Berggren. You mentioned the sniper fire earlier today. Snipers attacked twice when your hospital tried to evacuate patients. Can you describe to us what you saw, what you heard, or what other witnesses saw?
Sure. Around 11:20 or so this morning, we were being assisted in our evacuation by the National Guard, who was available here for patient transportation. And my husband actually got into one of their vehicles to direct them to where they needed to transport patients. And so he was the eyewitness to this event. And there was sniper fire on the second vehicle in this caravan that my husband was part of. And subsequently, all of the weapons were being pointed up towards the roof where the suspected sniper was. And later, I think it was about 20 minutes later, there was additional gunfire, and my husband saw a man in a white shirt who was shooting, and gunfire was exchanged. And at that point, I was on the ramp of the emergency room, and there was a sudden crush of people rushing back into the emergency room, shouting, "Sniper, sniper, sniper." And at that point, we had to once again get the patients back into a safe place. People who were standing needed to sit down.
Well, you have endured so much, and we wish you Godspeed. You're doing the Lord's work there. Thank you so much. The big question, of course, tonight is where do things stand with the federal response? Federal Emergency Management Director Mike Brown joins me now from the FEMA Command Center in Baton Rouge. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I understand that security isn't your job. I understand that you're up against tremendous obstacles. But how can it be that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of victims have not received any food and water more than 100 hours after Katrina hit?
Paula, I think it's so important for the American public to understand exactly how catastrophic this disaster is. I mean, we have a major American city, a major urban area that has been totally demolished. And what we're finding is that as we continue to do the evacuation and get people out, people who have completely lost everything, they have no place to go, they have nothing, that we're finding other people who are literally coming out of second stories of homes. They're suddenly appearing on bridges that are not underwater, that people who were unable or chose not to evacuate are suddenly appearing. And so this catastrophic disaster continues to grow. I will tell you this, though. Every person in that convention center, we just learned about that today. And so I have directed that we have all available resources to get to that convention center to make certain that they have the food and water, the medical care that they need.
Sir, you're not telling me
those bodies that are there.
Sir, you're not telling me you just learned that the folks at the convention center didn't have food and water until today, are you? You had no idea they were completely cut off?
Paula, the federal government did not even know about the convention center people until today. We have been doing the evacuations from the Superdome for several days. We're taking people out from the Superdome to Houston and San Antonio. The people in the Superdome have been fed. There are convoys of trucks moving food in there to feed them even tonight. We're taking the Coast Guard and we're taking care of the people who have just appeared on the bridges and the interstates to get them water tonight. We're doing all of those things. Those people have suddenly appeared. And I got to tell you, the snipers, the thugs, those people, I have the First Army at my disposal. General Honore is here. There will be 30,000 National Guard troops in New Orleans. I am going to take control of that, and we are going to make certain that this city is safe and that that poor mother that has the children, that family unit that's just trying to get to a shelter, they're going to be protected. That's the president's demand, the American public demands it, and we're going to do it.
And what about a situation like you just heard at Charity Hospital tonight, where they were in the process of evacuating patients, and they were told once they got those critically ill patients in a boat, put them on the boat, that the boat had to be sent back because where it was being dispatched to was underwater as well, and there wasn't any reasonable place to leave them off?
And that is a great example, unfortunately a great example, of how catastrophic this disaster is. That we may have a place that we're going to take critically ill patients and suddenly it's not there and we have to change plans on the fly. That's how devastating this is. And that's why we're bringing in the National Guard. That's why the Coast Guard will continue to run missions all night with night vision. That's why the First Army is here. That's why the American public needs to understand exactly how catastrophic this situation is in New Orleans.
And finally tonight, sir, you said earlier today that part of the blame for what you think will be an enormous death toll in New Orleans rests with the people who did not evacuate the city, who didn't heed the warnings. Is that fair to blame the victims, many of whom tell us they had no way out, they had no cars of their own, and that public assistance wasn't provided to get them out of the city?
First of all, Paula, I'm not blaming anyone. I think if you listen to what I said that some either chose not to evacuate and some were unable to evacuate. And my heart goes out to even if they chose not to evacuate, my heart still goes out to them because they now find themselves in this catastrophic disaster. Now is not the time to be blaming. Now is the time to recognize that whether they chose to evacuate or chose not to evacuate, we have to help them.
And we wish you tremendous luck in that process. Mike Brown, thank you so much for being with us. Joining me now on the phone from Baton Rouge is Democratic Senator Mary Landrieu of Louisiana. Good of you to join us. First of all, actually, we are going to get to see you after all. Senator, first of all, I don't know how much you heard of what FEMA Director Mike Brown just had to say, but do you find that description of what his team is up against acceptable?
Desperation to be reunited with their families to get to safety.
This nation is facing right now, in my opinion, we have never faced before, and it's going to take all of our concerted efforts to stay steady, stay moving forward. Believe me, there's plenty of blame to go around.
A total underinvestment by the federal government over many years in this region of the country, despite pleas and warnings from elected officials. There is a failure and breakdown of a communication system that we failed to invest in. But this senator is not going to spend any time blaming anybody. This senator is going to say the people are suffering. We need aid. We need support. I thank President Bush. I thank former President Bush. I thank former President Clinton. Please do everything that you can to help us here. The leadership team on the ground, including the governor and all, are doing everything that they know how to do at this time. And I understand that people are suffering. I myself have been involved in rescue operations. My brother has been on a boat in New Orleans, St. Bernard, and Plaquemine Parish, getting people out. There are people all over the region, in Mississippi and Alabama. So Trent Lott and Thad Cochran, Senator Vitter and I understand your suffering as well. We are too. We're going to work together to do what we can to get through this situation.
When an assessment can actually be made, what do you think the death toll might go up to in your state?
Thank you very much.
Paula, I don't know what the gas prices are going to go up to, but it's going to affect everyone in the country. We are the energy coast. We're the only energy coast in the nation.
Sorry to interrupt you. I know this signal is not clear at all. Actually, what I was asking you about was the death toll, because the governor of your state has predicted.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not your fault at all. If people need to understand, yeah, these signals are really, really quite raw. But your own governor predicted
the death toll.
The death toll could go well into the thousands. What do you think?
It could, and it's going to be such a hard thing for the people of this nation to watch, because they're going to watch a lot of it. It's going to be extremely difficult. We know that children have died. We know that old people have died. We know that people are dying right now as I speak. All I can say as a senator from this state, that we hope that the military is on the way, and we hope that all assets are being brought to bear by the federal government, by our state government, and by our local government. And I know personally, Paula, that sheriffs and law enforcement officials, mayors, councilmen, police jurors have literally been risking their lives for 4 days. We're doing everything we can, and on their behalf, not my behalf, on their behalf, I want to thank them, ask them to keep it up, use their good judgment, try to get through this, and we're trying to do the very best we can here.
And Senator, I don't know whether you could hear that say this, but FEMA Director Mike Brown had some good news for you, because he said he believes you will have 30 additional U.S. soldiers on the ground there very soon in your state. Senator Landrieu, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Our pleasure, and good luck. And when we all come back, harrowing stories of survival from inside the Superdome in New Orleans. Please stay with us.
CNN, your hurricane headquarters.
Users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Sadly, arthritis pain can mean the end of life's little pleasures. But not for people who use Aleve. People whose doctors have told them the good news about the strength and safety of Aleve. The good news that only Aleve can stop arthritis pain all day with just 2 pills. That would take 8 Tylenol. Take back the pleasure arthritis pain took away. Ask your doctor about the good news. Ask your doctor about Aleve.
This is Paul.
Guys, on the house.
He backtests moving averages differently than Raj, who drags and drops nothing like Anne, who trades options a lot more often than Hal, who places conditional orders differently than George, who celebrates in his own special way. And thanks to Fidelity Active Trader Services, they all get power, price, service, no compromises.
Let's go.
Trading with Fidelity. Smart move.
Tonight on Newsnight, chaos in New Orleans, desperation across the entire Gulf region. The latest in a story that is changing by the minute. Newsnight, CNN, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Is your little race car driver constantly losing fuel? Quarterback, not leaving it all in the field? What happens when the family Picasso is going through her blue period? Or when the kick is up and the chips are down? No problem. It's the new Swiffer Carpet Flick for quick carpet cleanups between vacuuming. Swiffer Carpet Flick is perfect for those pesky little messes that happen every day, all over the house. The refill sheet is sticky on both sides. Dirt is flicked up into the bin and locked away on the top side, while fuzz and lint are trapped on the bottom. And when the sheet is full, throw it away. Just flick, trap, and toss. Ah, the joys of a house with kids. The new Swiffer Carpet Flick for quick carpet cleanups between vacuuming.
Visit this website for a $3 coupon. Swiffer Carpet Flick. Just flick, trap, and toss.
Sudden fury. In Katrina's deadly wake, CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
As we continue to cover this story, things keep on changing, it seems, just every minute. And we just had some fresh tape come into us, and it's a sight that I think we've all been waiting for. Evacuees from New Orleans just arriving at the Astrodome in Houston after a very long day and more than 100 hours after Katrina hit. They came by bus. I think their expressions say it all, besides the exhaustion on their face, but the joy of finally being out of the Superdome. Right now, about 3,000 New Orleans refugees have actually made it to the Astrodome in Houston, and that's where we find our own Shab Caleb's there tonight. Describe to us what you've seen throughout the day there.
Well, we can tell you, Paul, in the last couple of hours, just a number of buses completely loaded have continued to roll in. On the side of the buses, it says DOT/FEMA to make sure those indeed are the buses heading from the Superdome to the Astrodome. So that city inside the Astrodome is indeed beginning to take shape. There are now more than 4,000 people. We just got an update in the last 5 minutes, and the buses keep coming in. They expect a great number of people will come in here tomorrow. The Red Cross telling us almost everybody coming here is suffering from dehydration. But even more importantly to them, many people are in need of dire medical treatment. Some are experiencing complete renal failure. Others went to the Superdome without their medication. There is a medical staff inside here. They are doing everything they can for the thousands of people that indeed are arriving. Once they arrive here, they will find cots on the floor. They will find hot food. They will find clean facilities. They will find doctors to take care of them as well. But they are concerned about the people suffering from post-traumatic shock, people that have simply been through something that's very difficult for anyone to understand outside the New Orleans area. As far as those people, when they get off the buses, the Red Cross says they are simply terrified. They don't want to come in the Astrodome because it reminds them of the Superdome and what they endured there. What exactly did they endure over the past several days? Well, we are getting our first images as well as talking to a number of people, and they describe horrific situation there. Water quickly filling up the bottom of the floor, power, of course, going out. So that makes the dome entirely dark. Eyewitnesses say they can describe seeing a number of violence, criminal acts committed against other people inside the Superdome. Something just terribly frightening to all the people that had to go through this, Paula.
How long do you think the people are going to end up having to stay there?
Well, we can tell you the Astrodome has cleared its schedule until December. They are preparing to keep people here for months. I think the big question to so many people here, how is it going to play out? This is something, all the people coming from the New Orleans area, they will be coming here in days. This isn't something that's going to happen in one day. They're also trying to take people into the San Antonio area, perhaps even into the Dallas area. So Texas really doing a Texas-sized favor to its neighbor to the east, trying to do what they can to help these people who are simply traumatized, in need of medical condition, medical treatment, and certainly everybody wondering what they are going to return to once they do get a chance to return home.
Sean Calebs, thanks so much for that update. And if you all were watching closely, you could see the look of relief on the faces of those folks that have safely made it from the Superdome in New Orleans to the Astrodome in Houston. And we just heard Sean talk about what we're learning for the first time about the conditions inside the Superdome in New Orleans. And right now on the phone, we have Tashia Walters, who actually is at the convention center, another place that's seen a tremendous amount of difficulty. Tashia, describe to us what it's been like there over the last couple of days.
What it has been like right now, we have 6 dead bodies in the freezer. People are dying. There is no life, no water. There is no food. They're killing people. They're looking for a 13-year-old child that they think has been raped. They can't find it. There's a child downstairs that's 10 years old that they attempted to rape this morning, and they broke both of her ankles. We have people. The police is not doing anything. They're shooting. And the people that have looted the food that was here, they're trying to sell it back to you. They're selling bottles of water for $5. You can't do anything. People are dying everywhere. And there's more and more and more and more and more and more and more people going to die. And all the police say is they're coming. They're going to do it. I've been sitting here since 7 o'clock this morning. They're telling us that the buses are coming. Get out of the street. And 6 people have died today. And what are we going to do? We need help. I went to the police station around the corner, the Make Police Station, and I asked them, because I have some nursing experience, I asked them for things to help these people, some instruments. They told us that the mayor said we should have got out, and now we have to wait.
So, Tashia, are you seeing, besides the police that are on duty, any soldiers at all?
There's no police around here.
You don't see any police at all?
There's no police. It's total chaos. There is no authority figure in this building. They're plucking this building apart. They're kicking in the doors. They're defecating on the carpet. They're peeing the stairwell. There is nothing.
And Tashia, the one thing we're really having trouble figuring out is how many people are at the convention center. Do you have any idea?
Huh?
Do you have any idea how many people are stuck at the convention center?
It's about 3,000 people, and more of them. There's one man, he can't walk on both his legs. They're blistering with sores. It looks like he's barely moving. Last night, we spent the night outside on Steph Highway with babies. There was babies laying in the middle of the highway because they left us there. There was one lady we had to resuscitate because she was dying. Somebody walked off and left her in a wheelchair. There are people here that really seriously need help. There's insulin, cardiac. We have diabetics. We have everybody that needs some help. Well, right now, we are searching the building for a 13-year-old child that we think has been raped, but there are so many rooms in the convention center that we cannot find her.
Well, Tashia, we have just finished interviewing the head of FEMA, and he said he is just finding out about how difficult things are at the convention center and that help is on the way. Tashia Walters with a very vivid account of how awful things are at the convention center in New Orleans tonight. And a reminder that the mayor of New Orleans says this is a dire situation. He put out an SOS earlier today in a statement saying they've simply run out of resources. When we come back, we'll be talking with Mike Levitt, Secretary of HHS.
Try a couple of... Oh, Brett, look, I know you want to go to the sales conference, but I'm sending Trish because she thinks a little faster on her feet. Anyway, Trish, you fly out on Tuesday.
I think fast on my feet.
They chose you for a reason, and you chose Embassy Suites for a reason. Like our complimentary cook-to-order breakfast. Embassy Suites Hotels.
If only your prescription was always available wherever you needed it. Fortunately, you can pick up your Walgreens prescription refill at any one of our thousands of locations, whether it's just across town or across the country.
You're about to see a meeting of one of the most powerful financial organizations in the world. It's backed by the resources and the credit rating of the world's largest wealth management firm. And it's meeting today to answer the most important question on its agenda.
So how am I doing?
Wealth management at UBS. From wealth preservation to lending and investment. You and us. UBS.
The Federal Department of Health and Human Services has declared a public health emergency from Louisiana to Florida. Joining me now from Washington is HHS Secretary Michael Leavitt. Thank you, sir, so much for being with us. We know that the water in New Orleans is now being described as a toxic gumbo. It's filled with sewage, it's filled with chemicals. We're hearing very vivid accounts from witnesses at the convention center in New Orleans tonight that literally dead bodies are being all but shoved aside and allowed to decay. What are you the most worried about?
Watching those stories, Paula, break my heart. I feel frustrated, I'm sure, like you do and other Americans do, but resolved to push forward. We are organizing 24 public health teams of 20 people each, public health experts who will be moving into the area as rapidly as the areas are available to us. We're deeply concerned about the quality of the water. We're troubled that people could be drinking it, that we could have mosquito hatches, that we could have all kinds of different events that could in fact make an unthinkable tragedy more of a tragedy.
But Secretary, given all of the challenges in getting into downtown New Orleans right now, what could you do possibly about the thousands of dead? We've just heard one woman in a very painful way describe walking around in feces and basically walking over dead bodies. What can you do about that in the near term?
I heard that report. It's deeply troubling. Well, we've just got to get those people out. That's the first thing, and I know that that's the focus of FEMA and others, is to get them out. And then we've got to reestablish the basic services that make a free society clean and healthy and safe. And that will include clean water. It will include food that people can eat with security and safety. It will mean that we're using the basic rudiments and tools of public safety, including the capacity to mosquito abatement through cleaning up the mess.
I need a real brief answer to this. How long do you think it's going to take to bring things under control health-wise, even during the process of these evacuations?
We fight public health emergencies day to day, and it will be an ongoing fight, I am sure, for weeks and months.
Mr. Secretary Michael Leavitt, thank you so much for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
In Mississippi, the death toll now stands at least 185 from Katrina. Randy Kay now joins us from Gulfport, where there was tremendous damage. Randy, unfortunately, seeing an awful lot of that with her own eyes. Randy?
Absolutely, Paula. The situation here can only be described as grim. As you just said, the governor has confirmed 185 dead here in Mississippi. That number is expected to rise. And the problem here, Paula, is getting to the dead and getting to the injured. Entire neighborhoods have been crushed. Buildings now look like pancakes. So getting inside is very, very difficult. We want to show you some new video taken just a couple of hours ago. We flew this afternoon with MEMA, which is the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. We flew over an area called Christian Christian Pass. It is one of the worst hit areas here in Mississippi. It's about 30 minutes west of Biloxi. And if you look at that video, you can see that homes are completely buried in debris, in some cases up to the rooftops. There was a lumber yard there which only added to the mess, dumping plenty of wood on that area. So, and also just keep in mind that that area is pretty far inland, so it took a pretty large storm surge to cover that area and destroy that area. Tomorrow, MEMA will be taking their search and rescue teams to Christian Pass. They haven't been there before. They'll be looking for survivors and will be going along with them. In terms of looting, I know there's been some question about looting here in Mississippi. We looked around today. We asked about it. We talked with some of the security folks here, the police force, and they are not getting reports of extreme looting here in Mississippi. Certainly nothing like New Orleans. They are getting aid here, though, although it's still coming slowly, Paula. It's making its way very slowly to the neighborhoods. In many cases, the burden is on the people here who have lost their homes and lost their cars to go and get the aid themselves, and we know that that is clearly impossible. National Guard here taking over security, still 820,000 people without power, Paula.
And we just heard in the last hour the National Guard hopes to get an additional 2,500 troops in there tomorrow in your state where you're on duty. Randy Kay in Biloxi, thanks so much. Still ahead, Katrina has devastated so many lives, but one family has gone from heartbreak to absolute elation. The incredible story of their amazing reunion with their newborn baby. Next.
Now is brought to you by AmeriQuest Mortgage, proud sponsor of the American Dream.
I'm an AmeriQuest Mortgage specialist. Whether your dream is to buy a home, refinance, or see the Rolling Stones, I'm here to help. Good. That's why we're sponsoring the Rolling Stones tour. For your chance to win tickets, go to AmeriQuest.com. AmeriQuest Mortgage, proud sponsor of the American Dream.
With Sprint, people are experiencing BMW in a whole new way. Using wireless kiosks powered by Sprint, customers can build their own all-new 3 Series and ask for a test drive. Because the more new people BMW reaches, the more BMWs wind up on the road. With Sprint, BMW is accessible, interactive, beautiful. Learn more at sprint.com.
Vanilla first left Mexico in the early 1500s on ships headed for Spain. However, it wasn't until 1519 that the Spaniards learned vanilla was more than just a perfume. Mexico continued their vanilla...
If the history of vanilla doesn't put you to sleep, maybe this will. New Tylenol PM and Soothing Vanilla Liquid relieves pain, isn't habit-forming, and leaves you refreshed in the morning.
Parents Jake and Paula just sent their 4th son off to an Ivy League college.
You think it's easy putting 4 kids through college? We've been working at this since we got married. Now 2 of them are going to business school. Trust me, it's been no walk in the park. If we didn't have someone good helping us plan this whole thing, we never would have been ready.
Smith Barney, this is who we are. This is how we earn it.
It's also going to require a lot of money. And the federal government will do its part. But the private sector needs to do its part as well.
President Bush drafting his father and former President Clinton into the effort to raise private money for disaster relief, as they did for Asian tsunami victims. Tonight, there are more than 75,000 victims in shelters all across the Gulf Coast. The Red Cross is just one organization using private donations to help out hurricane victims. Elizabeth Cohen found both heartbreak and hope at one shelter in Baton Rouge.
They call it a shelter, but really, it's a refugee camp. 5,500 people washed out of their homes, looking for food, water, a place to sleep. And many, most importantly, are looking for their loved ones. Maggie Taylor is searching for her son, mother, sister, and 8 other family members. They were all up on the roof together when a boat came by. Rescuers dragged Maggie into the boat, but she was the only one able to get aboard.
They were on the roof. I left them on the roof. I yelled for them to come, but the boat took off.
Evacuees lined up at our camera, desperate to get the word out to the world, desperate for help to find their missing loved ones. A brother and sister searched for their grandparents, who refused to leave New Orleans because they lived through hurricanes past.
He had been through Betsy. He's 81 years old, you know.
We begged him to leave.
Carrie Sterling, a fourth-year medical student at Louisiana State University, is looking for 8 family members.
My mother, my brother, my twin brother, my 2 sisters, a cousin, and my 2 nephews and a niece.
He searched at the River Center shelter, but no luck. His cousin then called and told him buses full of people had just arrived at Southern University, so he went there. He looked through the list of who'd registered, but nothing there either. His next stop, 2 other Baton Rouge shelters. If they're not there, he'll drive to the Astrodome in Houston.
My mom, she is strong. She won't go down without a fight, so no hurricane can stop her from getting to her children.
Virginia Wilson had been searching for days.
Been looking for Lisa and the kids since Monday we lost contact.
Her 4 friends were up on the roof of a house in Waveland, Mississippi. She feared the worst, but then, while she was eating breakfast Thursday morning with her daughter, their cell phone rang.
We just got news that they did make it out, and they're all alive.
I just started screaming, they're alive, they're alive.
Back at the River Center shelter, thousands of families pray that their stories also will have a happy ending. We have an update on Carrie Sterling, that medical student that we told you about. He went to those 2 shelters that the Red Cross told him about, and no one was there. There were no shelters. He's going to go to 2 more about an hour away from here, and if he can't find his family, then he'll go on to the Astrodome. In his family, he's looking for, among others, a 2-year-old, a 2-month-old, and a 1-year-old. Paula?
Just breaks your heart. Elizabeth Cohen in Baton Rouge, thanks. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
This Labor Day weekend, I get 3 days to roll out a masterpiece.
You can at the Home Depot, where you'll find the largest paint color palette in America, plus great values on everything you need to paint your home, from primer to paint sprayers. Right now, get $5 off 1-gallon cans of Glidden Evermore paint, interior or exterior. Save even more with $20 off all 5-gallon buckets. And come to a free paint clinic to learn about techniques, color coordination, and more.
At the Home Depot, you can do it, we can help.
And welcome back to our continuing coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. As I'm speaking, there are many, many people desperately searching for their loved ones. We're doing what we can to help them make a connection. Carol Lynn is standing by at our victim's desk with a story which does have a very happy ending. That's nice for a change, isn't it?
You bet, Paula. We have been working this story all night long. The team here at the Victims Relief Desk have been calling hospitals all across Louisiana and Texas, trying to track down a little baby by the name of Malia Charles. She is only 7 months old, and her parents had no idea where she was. And if you take a look at the devastation in Slidell and the face of this little baby, they had left her at a hospital in Slidell. The devastation here as it was growing around them, but their baby had pneumonia, so she had to be treated, and the family had to flee. They ended up in Houston, Texas. But they were trying to get word about their newborn from North Shore Regional Hospital. Nobody was answering the phone. They had heard that the hospital had lost all power, no water, no generators. They had no idea what happened to their baby. The team here started making calls and got an answer from the Tenet Hospital, headquartered in Houston, Texas. They managed to connect me with the doctor, the pediatrician taking care of Malia, and we hooked up the parents and the doctor so that the parents could have their first conversation about their daughter. The doctor said that Malia is being spoiled terribly at the hospital. She's doing great, and what a little personality, and it was a joy to see the smile on these parents' faces, knowing that their little girl is okay.
Well, that is such great news, but you wonder how long it'll be before her parents can actually see her.
Yeah, they're thinking about 4 days, Paula. They're waiting for the waters to recede, but what a relief that their baby is safe and being fed.
Tremendous relief, and yet that 4 days is probably going to seem like 4 months. Thank you so much, Carol Lynn. When we come back, we're going to go back to Houston's Astrodome and talk with some of those who survived the ordeal in New Orleans at the Superdome.
Car rental, we help you choose a brand and model vehicle that's right for you.
But I asked for a Ford Mustang.
Well, heck, boy, horsepower's horsepower. Now giddy up! Yeah, yeah! Reserve the specific car you want. Who do you think we are, Hertz?
Now only Hertz #1 Club lets you reserve a specific brand and model, like the Ford Mustang. Sign up free at Hertz.com. Car reservability at major airports and select vacation locations.
CNN Next has The Death Toll Rises, the latest on desperate Hurricane Katrina rescue efforts, plus first-hand accounts from refugees. Larry King Live, next on CNN.
For years, we've been taking you to places like this and showing you the heartbreak. The children whose only mistake was being born poor. 27,000 died last night. But thousands more lived because of sponsors who made a difference in their lives and sometimes actually saved them. We know you thought about it, put it on a nice to-do list, but somehow never got around to it. Even though the phone's right there and the call's free. Maybe it kind of gets lost in how busy you are. Maybe you're just taking your time. But Bretter and his friends don't have till the 12th of never. They need you today. And you're not busy right this moment, so why not now? It's not the 80 cents a day, is it? Sponsoring a child, clean water, healthy food, a doctor to see, finally a school to go to? It's the best thing that can happen to 3 quarters and a nickel. And it's not like you feel bad after you do it. You'll feel great about sponsoring a kid every day you get up. And you don't have to worry about Christian Children's Fund. 80 cents of every dollar that comes in goes right out to help these children. So why not now? So why not now? Know what I think it is? I think you just forgot the number. So here it is. Christian Children's Fund is one of America's oldest and most trusted child sponsorship charities. For over 60 years, we're how people like you get together with children who need someone like you. So, why not now? Call now. We'll send you a picture of a child who needs you.
Sudden Fury. In Katrina's deadly wake, CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
One of the most hopeful things we're seeing at this hour is the arrival of people on stretchers, people in wheelchairs at the New Orleans airport. They are finally getting away from the misery of the city and finally getting some help. Here's David Mattingly on the unfolding drama there.
The line for the moment is painfully long. The sick and the injured fill the New Orleans airport, some reeling from a rescue that seems to have no end.
Yeah, I've been in pain ever since before the storm started. I've been in pain since the surgery 2 weeks ago.
Ronald Montoya broke his neck a month ago and was hurting too much after surgery to evacuate his home. He and his family waded through chest-deep waters and ended up with the hundreds of others wandering the elevated expressways, walking for miles to reach the Superdome. They are now getting their first hot meal and waiting for a final medical evacuation.
I'm hurting, but I feel blessed enough not to even feel as much as the pain I was feeling trying to get to this point.
And there are many in far worse shape. As the gurneys continue to creep in, patients lie on the floor, some only in hospital gowns. Fans are running, but the air is thick in some areas with the smell of urine and feces. They're all waiting for that one last transfer to a final shelter or a real hospital and real beds. Emergency needs are being met, but some are so sick the journey itself may prove to be too much. Are there people in this room right now who may not survive the next move they have to make?
It's possible.
How many?
I don't have those numbers.
Helicopter traffic is nonstop. For some, the escape from the misery that is New Orleans means a rain-soaked run across a steaming tarmac. For others, it means agonizing separation. This mother is being bussed away, not knowing where her newborn baby has already been sent.
All these people was on a maternity ward, and they had to evacuate us, and I was in ICU, and I'm looking for my baby.
And yet, there are moments like this.
Yeah, they got lost. That's good.
20-year-old Edna Raymer and her 87-year-old husband, Alan, survived 13-foot floodwaters only to lose sight of each other during a frenzied hospital evacuation.
Nobody knows we're alive, David. They rescued us off the roof of my house.
Did you see the lady?
After losing everything else, they again have each other, but with no idea where they will be going next.
But still, so much pain, so much agony. David Mattingly reporting. Tonight, the buses filled with New Orleans refugees continue rolling into Houston. And today, Texas Governor Rick Perry declared an emergency disaster for his state. It frees up money to provide services for the nearly 75,000 storm victims now streaming into Texas. The governor says both Dallas and San Antonio will be taking in 25,000 evacuees each. Houston is getting about 23,000. Two of them who have just made it to the Astrodome today, Valina Coco, who happens to be a special education teacher, and her daughter, Elisana, who is a college student. They both had to endure some horrible days and nights at the Superdome in New Orleans. So, Coco, what does it feel like to finally have food and water and more fresh air than you've been accustomed to?
It's been wonderful. When we arrived off of the buses, everyone welcomed us, said, you know, come on in, let us know what you need. And it was just very beautiful to be welcomed with such open domes.
Very heartwarming.
Yes.
Valina, how bad did things get at the Superdome? We just had one woman describe things at the convention center there, talking about walking over dead bodies, walking in feces, walking in standing water. It sounded like an absolute nightmare. What did you have to put up with?
Well, at the Dome, it was very crowded. Of course, the electricity was out, so it was very warm inside, and there were people everywhere. There were holes in the ceiling, so during the storm itself, it rained inside the Dome, so the cement floors was very slippery and soiled with trash. So you had people actually in every available space on the cement floors in the hallways and in seats taking up camp, and it was just very uncomfortable, and it was, you know, a place of last resort.
Elysian, we have seen how desperate people are who've been trying to get out of the Superdome. For a brief time today, the evacuation stopped by sniper fire, postponed, and then started up again. How angry are people who have to stay there because they simply can't get out yet?
They're upset, I think, because they're looking for family members. It's just everybody's so afraid right now because their family members are missing. They don't know where they are, and that's something that's on everybody's mind. They're trying to stick together through this because so much is going on, and we don't know when the next time we're going to be able to go back home, so we don't know whether or not we'll see our family members again.
Well, we wish you luck. I know you have a lot of choices to make about sending your daughter off to college or staying with your mother there in Houston until she gets better. Good luck. Thank you for sharing your stories with us tonight. Coming up next, amid the violence and chaos in New Orleans, a story of incredible bravery and sacrifice. We'll share it with you when we come back.
The GMC Yukon has the best V8 fuel economy in its class because GMC engineering is all about going the extra mile. Literally, the GMC employee discount has been extended on 2005s and now includes every 2006 Yukon. Get an 05 Yukon two-wheel drive SLE for $28,687 with your employee discount. The total value promise makes it easy. No worries, no hassles, it's right on the window. See your GMC dealers today.
When something really fits, you can feel it. Like the fit you get with C-Bond denture adhesive. It's the only wafer that has a gasket effect that locks dentures in place, gives you all-over coverage, all-over hold. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
The denture adhesive with the gasket fit. C-Bond. And give toothpaste and tablets the brush off. New C-Bond Brightening Gel Cleanser does the job of both.
Another new drink. Ingredients: inositol, maltodextrin, glucuronolactone, or Florida orange juice. Fresh air, rain, sunshine.
Florida orange juice. Healthy, pure, and simple.
What's that breeze?
That's our TV. It sucks.
It sucks?
Yeah, the bill, customer service, sucks big time.
Gosh, that sucks.
Oh, it totally sucks. Your TV doesn't suck?
No, we have Dish Network. Saves tons of money. Service is way better.
And we got a free DVR. Maybe we should get Dish Network.
Join today and get 25 movie channels free, plus 1 month free service. Dish Network, better TV for all.
I write underground comics, and I got my latest idea at work, The Actuary. By day, just a mild-mannered accountant, crunching numbers, deciphering the tax codes, spreadsheets, but at night, a crime-solving mathematician with laser vision. I do it all on my computer, write, draw, and publish online. You may not always get his man, but he always gets the girl.
Start something heroic. Start anything you like with a world of software and devices that run on Windows.
Nobody knows this neighborhood better than Wendy Owens of Prudential Real Estate. Wendy's great with technology, and she's the best there is at bringing buyers and sellers together.
I've agreed to an early closing.
Professionals like Wendy Owens are why you choose Prudential Real Estate.
This is the Mantis Tiller Cultivator. It weighs only 20 pounds, but packs more power than you might have thought possible. The Mantis Tiller digs in at 240 revolutions a minute, and optional attachments handle all kinds of gardening chores. This is a remarkable machine. And here's a remarkable offer. Purchase a Mantis Tiller direct from the factory, use it for a year, and if you don't absolutely love it, send it back and we'll refund your money.
For free information, call 1-800-306-5300.
Tonight on Newsnight, from chaos in New Orleans to storm refugees arriving in Houston to relief efforts across the entire Gulf region, the latest in a story that is changing by the minute. Newsnight, CNN, 10 p.m. Eastern.
All through Katrina and its aftermath, we've been asking all of you to be citizen journalists and email us your stories. On the phone now is Carol Seo. Tuesday night, she and her husband spent their 8th wedding anniversary fleeing New Orleans with 4 critically ill patients. Now they're going back for more. Carol, we have heard some very discouraging reports out of New Orleans tonight about bands of rapists going from block to block, people rocking around in feces, dead bodies floating everywhere. And we know that sniper fire continues and looting. Do you think you're going to be successful in going back to New Orleans and trying to rescue even more patients?
Yes, Paula, thank you. I do think we will be successful. I'm coming in with some National Guards from Camp Beauregard. I would like to thank them for their bravery, and also we're delivering 110 soldiers to be deployed on into New Orleans. We also have an escorted armed police that's coming in with us to continue the evacuation process I would like to say a quick thanks to Steve Flaherty, CEO, and Gene Smith, the president of St. Charles Specialty, for trusting my judgment and allowing me to continue on with this. The staff at St. Charles has done so much sacrificing into assisting these patients. Kayla DeVos, who's the director of nursing at Health South, who received our patients without any questions asked, kept the CEO and Brian Ussery, the DON of Health South Rehab, which has welcomed us.
Well, Carol, CEO, we know you got a big job ahead. You're trying to rescue some 26 hospice patients along with 40 staff members. We will be checking in with you tomorrow to see how you've done. We wanted to take our last few seconds to update you on what's happening right now. The evacuees from New Orleans are arriving by bus at the Houston Astrodome. Texas will be taking in some 75,000 refugees. But there is still tremendous desperation in New Orleans. Troops are outside the Superdome where the crowd is waiting to evacuate. A report on the ground describing increased lawlessness, bands of men raping women. Still no food, no water. That's the latest from here. Good night.